You say that you've received death threats for calling out the false pretext of this refugee program, yet and still you persist. Why?
I think the reason that I'm receiving death threats from within my own community just shows how necessary this work is. We need to educate people that South Africa has a national crime crisis that affects disadvantaged communities as well as farmers. It's not just an insulated case on farms. It affects everyone, and that is why we need to speak out. And even if safety is sometimes compromised.
And Pieter, what do you think the view that there is this white Afrikaner genocide in South Africa, these fake claims of land seizures, land confiscation, as it's been branded, are so entrenched among some in the Afrikaner community, despite the fact that even when you look at the numbers released by the police service, when you look at the highest murder rates, for example, those police stations, those districts are not where most of these farming areas are.
Yes, well, when we look at what happens in these crime statistics, right, most of these crimes happen in rural areas. It happens in townships. It happens to women and children traveling to and from school. Why we see an influx in the reporting on crime on farms and farm attacks are because we only represent 7% of the population, and that is less on farms. And it does look brutal when these attacks happen on isolated farms, and it gets reported into mainstream media way often than it does in townships, because in townships it just happens so often. Media just cannot report on it as much as it does on farms, because let's be honest, programming and coverage on farms and in these areas are much more than it is in rural township areas.
And one murder is one murder too many in any part of South Africa. Given what you've just said then, why do you think the false claims, the misinformation carries so much and travels so far, so much so that people have applied for refugee status and even gone abroad?
Well, when we look at the type of South Africans, the type of white South Africans that have applied for refugee status and that have actually gone to the United States, in my opinion, it's not the best of South Africans we want to represent us at the World Cup or at a national, international level. It's very desperate people, right? So we need to ask, why is this happening? And we need to have national debates and dialogues and things like that. We don't need to create populist notions and narratives that's going to create